One cold welding truth: if two bits of metal touch in space, they become for all time stuck together. This may sound incredible, yet it is valid. Two bits of metal with no covering on them will shape into one piece in the vacuum of room. This doesn't occur on Earth in light of the fact that the environment puts a layer of oxidized material between the surfaces. This may appear as though it would be a major issue on the space station, yet as most apparatuses utilized there have originated from Earth, they are as of now covered with material. Truth be told, the main proof of this seen so far has been in tests intended to incite the response. This procedure is called cold welding. 2. Sunspot music truth: sunspot action might be the essential explanation behind the delightful sound of Stradivarius violins. Antonio Stradivari is viewed as the best violin producer ever. He lived in Italy in the 17th and 18th hundreds of years. Researchers have been not able to work out what it is about his violins that makes them so fantastic. Yet they do realize that the timber used to make them is a significant contributing component. From the 1500s to 1800s, the Earth experienced a little ice age, generally because of expanded volcanic movement and diminished sun-based action. This is known as the Maunder minimum. Because of this cooling, the sorts of trees that Stradivari utilized for his violins were especially hard because of moderate development. Hard timber is particularly acceptable when making violins. It is truly likely that had Stradivari lived in an alternate age, his violins would not be prized as they are today. This image above is made of 3 covering photographs. It shows the rings in the tidy tree used to put the most on the map Stradivarius violin. The Savior. The principal line of numbers gives the width of each ring in millimeters. 1 millimeter is about the thickness of a fingernail. The baseline gives the years where each ring developed. 3 extra moons. Reality: Earth has in any event 4 moons. Okay, that isn't in reality obvious, yet it is close. In 1986, Duncan Waldron found a space rock 5 kilometers over that is in an elliptic circle around the Sun with a time of transformation for all intents and purposes indistinguishable from that of Earth. Hence the planetoid and Earth have all the earmarks of being following one another. The intermittent planetoid is named Cruithne, articulated Crin-Y, after an antiquated gathering of Scottish individuals, otherwise called the Picts. As a result of its irregular relationship with Earth, it is here and there alluded to as Earth's subsequent moon. Cruithne is fainter than Pluto and would require at any rate a 12.5-inch reflecting telescope to endeavor to be seen. Since its disclosure, in any event, 3 other comparable space rocks have been found. These kinds of items are additionally found in comparable connections to different planets in our solar system. In the picture above, graciousness of Paul Wiegert, the Earth is the blue hover with a cross in it, and Cruithne's circle has appeared in yellow. 4. George's star truth: Uranus was initially called George's star when Sir William Herschel found Uranus in 1781. He was given the respect of naming it. He decided to name it Georgium Sidus, George's star, after his new supporter, King George III, Mad King George. This is the thing that he stated. In the remarkable times of antiquated occasions, the nicknames of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn were given to the planets, similar to the names of their head legends and divinities. In the current increasingly philosophical period, it would scarcely be reasonable to have plan of action to a similar strategy and call it Juno, Pallas, Apollo or Minerva. For a name to our new glorious body, the primary thought of a specific occasion, or striking occurrence, is by all accounts its order. If in any future age it ought to be asked when this last discovered planet was found, it would be an exceptionally acceptable response to state, in the rule of King George III, Uranus was additionally the principal planet to be found with the utilization of a telescope. 5. The Big Dipper isn't a heavenly body. Actuality: the Big Dipper isn't a heavenly body, it is an asterism. Many people believe the large scoop to be a star grouping at the same time. Truth be told, it is an asterism. An asterism is an example of stars in the sky which isn't one of the authority 88 groups of stars. They are additionally made out of stars which are not genuinely identified with one another and can be huge separations separated. An asterism can be made out of stars from at least one heavenly bodies on account of the Big Dipper. It is made completely out of the 7 most brilliant stars in the Ursa Major, Great Bear, group of stars. 6. Solar diet. Actuality. The Sun loses as much as 1 billion kilograms per second because of Sun-powered winds. Solar winds are charged particles that are launched out from the upper surface of the Sun because of the high temperature of the crown and the high dynamic vitality. Particles increase through a procedure that isn't surely known as of now. Likewise, did you realize that 1 pinhead of the Sun's vitality is sufficient to slaughter an individual a ways off of 160 kilometers? 7. Ancient light. Reality. The light hitting the Earth right presently is 30,000 years old. The vitality in the daylight we see today began in the center of the Sun 30,000 years back. It invested the greater part of this energy going through the thick particles that make the Sun in only 8 minutes to contact us once it had left the Sun. The temperature at the center of the Sun is 13,600,000 kelvins. The entirety of the vitality created by combination in the center must go through numerous progressive layers to the Sun-powered photosphere before it escapes into space as daylight or dynamic vitality of particles. 8. Farewell, old companion. Truth. The moon is floating away from Earth. Every year the moon moves about 3.8 centimeters further away from the Earth. This is brought about by flowing impacts. Thus, the Earth is easing back in revolution by about 0.002 seconds out of each day out of every century. Researchers don't have a clue how the moon was made. Yet the by and large acknowledged hypothesis recommends that a huge Mars-measured item hit the Earth, making the moon splinter off. 9. Constantly moving certainty. We are traveling through space at the pace of 530 kilometers a second. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is turning at a pace of 225 kilometers for every second. Likewise, the system is going through space at the pace of 305 kilometers for every second. This implies we are going at an all-out speed of 530 kilometers, 330 miles every second. That implies that in brief you are around 19,000 kilometers from where you were. Researchers don't all concede to the speed with which the Milky Way is voyaging. Gauges go from 130 to 1,000 kilometers per second. It ought to be said that Einstein's hypothesis of relativity, the speed of any item through space, isn't significant. 10. Lightweight. Actuality. If you put Saturn in water it would float. The thickness of Saturn is low to the point that if you somehow happen to place it in a mammoth glass of water it would skim. The genuine thickness of Saturn is 0.687 grams per cc, while the thickness of water is 0.998 grams per cc. At the equator, Saturn has a sweep of 60,268 plus or minus 4 kilometers, which implies you would require an amazingly huge glass of water to test this out.